Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I'm getting ready for tax season. I know it's real early, but we do a lot of work. But I was curious, how many of you guys out there went into tax season and thought you were getting this great refund, and lo and behold, you get through taxes and not so much. You got a tax bill, and this has been going on for the last couple of years. But you've always been wondering, why is this happening? Maybe you have the same problems, and so I thought I'd address one of the small issues that I found that caused a lot of these problems. So if that's you, hold on tight, and let's see what we come up with. Alright guys, welcome back. So as you can see from the screen, I got a W-4 pulled up, and I can assure you this is a lot some of the issues that we saw during tax season, as I'm working with our tax clients and wondering, hey, why didn't I get that refund? Well, if you look at it, for the most part, there was a change, and that change happened in 2020. But as with most government agencies, there's not always a full-on thought process, right, end to end. It's always a good idea, warm and fuzzy, but it's never a good implementation or execution. And what happened, and not to mention, this was never pushed out to the public, widely, unless you're tracking IRS information. And so this caused a lot of issues. But as I go through this, you'll see where the issues lie. But for the most part, when we go through and we're adjusting our withholdings or anything benefit-wise, we're going to log into a computer system, right? And you're going to make your changes and whatever have you, and hit submit, and everything's good. And you think, hey, I did everything great. But that's not the case. And so what's happening is you're not getting the full picture, right? So for the most part, your computer systems, right, your employee portals, they're going to look very much like this format, where you put your name, address, all that stuff's going to be pre-populated. You're going to put single, married, joint, qualifying widow, or head of household, right? And then you got this steps 2 through 4, and they got this extra withholdings. That's pretty much consistent. But what you will not see is how many exemptions do you want, right? And that's what we're accustomed to. And that's what we've done previously before this change. And the idea was we're going to help our taxpayers, the IRS, help the taxpayers, which is funny, IRS helping taxpayers to not have so much of a tax debt, right? So, and plus it helps them to collect the tax monies to alleviate some of the national debt problems. But if I look at this, and we'll go through this here, we got name, middle initial, last name, social security numbers, your address, all that stuff. That's all pretty consistent, right? You single, married, joint, qualified widow, or head of household, and if any of these apply, one of these will apply to you, so you're going to check one of these boxes. Then you're going to go step 2, right? And if you have multiple jobs, or if your spouse works, you're going to check this box here, and I'll explain why that is the case. Then you got dependents, right? So how many kids do we have under 17, or any other dependents, like your mom, your parents, whatever have you, right? And you're going to multiply those numbers by these respective numbers, right? And they're going to add that amount in here. Then you got this other optional section, which is other income, deductions, extra withholdings, and whatnot, right? So from here, this is where the problem lies. This is extra withholding. And where do I get this information? How do I figure this out other than going to a tax person, right? And how we figured out and where the disconnect came in is when we go to online portal, our employee portal, we're not seeing this necessary table, which is on page 4, right? And we can see here. So if I look at this, and the way this works, all right, is we got higher job on the lower, job on the top, and we got a married joint, we got single, married separate, we got head of household, right? So we're going to look at this, and if we take somebody and we'll call, first income is 20 to 29,000, and then we got 20 to 29,000, that means we have this number of 2,800. So what that means is you need to put on the additional 4C this $2,800. But whoa, hold up fast. You don't want to do just $2,800. You want to, otherwise you're going to have $2,800 per paycheck, right? That's not what we want. So what you got to figure out is how many paychecks are we getting for the year, right? More people, oftentimes than not, are going to get every 2 weeks. They're getting a paycheck, right? There are some instances where we might get 2 paychecks a month, or maybe we might get a paycheck a month. There are cases out there like that, but for the more oftentimes than not, we're going to be on a bi-weekly schedule. How do I know this number other than doing this? And I know it's 26. So where I get that number is I look at these publications, which I pull from the IRS website, right? We got Circular E, or Publication 15. This is the rules that guide how employers are going to withhold taxes and whatnot, and fringe benefits and all that kind of stuff. If you're interested, by all means, download these and read them. They're good information, and it's what we should know, like, tips, supplemental wages, what's the payroll period, and so on and so on. But this is what your company has to follow, these rules, right? But then we got this other one, this 2022 Publication 1. Now, the first thing you can notice is you've got these tables, these wage bracket methods, right? And before I get into that, let me go back into our payroll periods, right? So if I scroll through down here, let me see here. It's hard when you do this all the time because you kind of already know the information, right? So if I look up here at the top here, you can see here, these are the numbers. So these basically, how many checks are we getting? If it's monthly, we've got 12 paychecks right here. If it's semi-monthly, we got 24. That means we're getting 2 every month. And we got bi-weekly 26, weekly 52, and daily 260, right? So I'm going to take that number that I came up with, and that number was back down here, this 2,800, and I'm going to divide it by 26. And that is the number that I'm going to put on this line for C, right? And for the more times than not, that's going to resolve a lot of these tax issues. And let's get it back to a net zero, and we can actually fluctuate this number even more so we can affect more of a refund, or we can have more money every paycheck and do something with it, which is a whole different topic. But for those that are trying to get that refund and maximize that refund from the IRS, this is a big part of it. So instantly enough, how do we figure out how much they're going to take out without doing any of those additional adjustments, right? Well, that's what this publication 15T is. It's 15T here. And I want to look at this wage bracket method table for manual payroll systems with forms W4 from 2020 or later. Now notice there's a 2, and then there's also a 2019 version, which is prior to the new change in W4. So if I look at 11, page 11, and I come down, I got married, joint, head of household, single, married separately, and I get my paychecks here. I get $665. That means every paycheck is going to be, and if I'm married, it's going to be $17 a paycheck. Now if you multiply that by 26, that might not be the right number, right? We may be holding out not enough, and so we need to increase that. Now if you check that box for that multiple jobs, they're going to actually hold out $47, right? But is it still enough? No, it's not, because and that is the purpose of this form of these additional withholdings that guide this black line 4C, right here. So this is where the problem arises, is that line 4C, and many people aren't aware of how to find that number, right, other than working with a tax person. Now, as an ex-IRS revenue agent, and being in a casual manner, my clients love it, and they come in and I help them to solve these issues. So hopefully that helps out, just a small PSA, and hopefully on a selfish note it improves my tax season, so there's a lot less headaches and negative conversation we have to have, right? So a lot of all my clients, they're all aware of this and everything else. So like I've said, if it's something that you need help with, or you want to describe have further explanation, come in and see me. The links are in the bottom to schedule an appointment, and I'll be more than happy to come and meet with you. All right, guys. With that being said, you guys have a great night. Thanks a lot.